Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is Steve. I recently had cause to investigate getting a home battery here at my home installed. And despite the imminent lowering of a government subsidy, I decided not to do it. But many others are. I'm going to tell you why it was not right for me. And then later I'm going to tell you why it might be for you. I'm going to tell you why I didn't install a home battery. First of all, the payback period was 10 years. I have a relatively small solar system because my house is not that large, so I don't have much roof space. It's just over 5 kilowatts, as I recall. So I would have struggled to fill the battery during winter for use overnight. I am at home a lot during the day. I do my washing and heating of the house during the day. And it would have cost me about $10. I could do a lot of things with $10,000 right now, I can tell you. And I just want to acknowledge that a lot of people, for them, it's not a lot of money, but for some people, you need to conserve your cash. Also, battery technology is rapidly improving, particularly in the car industry. So it may well be possible that in 5 years' time, these batteries could be significantly cheaper. Now, I think some people online will argue that really the changes are happening more in the car industry and not in these fixed batteries. But a lot of the material that you read online, at the end of the day, it's people that are in the solar industry who are selling solar panels and solar batteries to you. So I think you need to read it with that in mind. I still think that over a 10-year time period, I would expect massive changes in battery technology. I don't have a lot of room to place the battery. So my outside area is relatively small, and it could have taken up quite a bit of room. It probably would have gone in my carport, and I was a bit worried about hitting the thing with my car, and I might have had to build like a barrier or something. I could have put the battery sort of upstairs in an enclosed space, but I was worried about the fire risk. And again, I am aware that the risk of the fire is fairly low, but I didn't want to take that risk. Now I use gas for my hot water, for some of my heating, and on the stovetop. Gas has actually become expensive though due to poor government policy. So essentially we're shipping gas at long-term wholesale rates to places like Japan. They store it up and then they sell it back to us at inflated retail prices. Go figure. Also, we have limited development of gas on the east coast of Australia due to essentially NIMBY, not in my backyard, and environmental concerns. Yeah, we have plenty of gas, we're just selling to other people, not Australians. So I am better off spending that money on perhaps installing gas alternatives. So I could, with incentives, maybe put in a heat exchange pump instead of my current instant gas setup. And if I change over my oven at any stage, I'd probably go for an induction cooktop because I think that's the way policy is going. But I don't really want to spend the money on new oven. I've got quite a large oven out there. And just on the oven point, I don't really use my oven that much. I tend to use 2 air fryers. So just so you know, using an air fryer, which is essentially a mini oven, is much, much cheaper generally than running a full-on oven unless you've got a big bake-on. I have reverse cycle air conditioning, as well as fans, which can turn in both directions. So now that it's winter, I run them anti-clockwise, and that apparently moves the heat around the right way. Pushes the heat down, I think. So they're both quite efficient at cooling and heating, and it might be useful having a battery with those. Now, I also have a beautiful historic replica gas fireplace, and when I run that with a fan, it heats my little house quite quickly. And the feeling of looking at that fire is so much better than sometimes when I run my air conditioning, it makes this sudden rush of noise, like a gust of wind almost, as it's heating up the house or cooling down, particularly at the moment it's winter. So yeah, sometimes I just prefer having that gas heater. So I can't imagine myself getting rid of that. I really love that thing. I don't have a clothes dryer. So in the winter, I hang my clothes inside and borrow the heat from the house, as it were. A combination of air conditioning and, again, running the gas heating. It's better for the clothes. I don't hate losing the elastic in my undies the environment and it's better for my wallet. So I think it's a much better outcome generally. So that, again, that's the reason not to have a solar electric battery. So in the summer, I try not to use my air conditioning. I prefer to rely on a combination of fans. And I have an old external canvas awning that keeps the western front of my home quite cool, surprisingly cool in the hot days. And only after this Victorian home heats up totally over the course of 3 or 4 days do I really need to start turning on the air conditioning. So again, that's another reason not to worry about having a battery. So I had made an inquiry with a company about heat pumps. They haven't called me back. Surprise, surprise. I did install one several years ago and got quite a good deal with government incentives, but they're not as good as they were now. But if I did install that and have it heat up during the day when my existing solar system is running, that should pay back in about 2 years, and for an outlay of maybe $2,000 instead of $10,000. On the other hand, it would take up a fair bit more space in my little yard, and it can run out of water, unlike the instant gas system I have. And also, I still have to pay the 89 cents a day for the gas connection to my fireplace. And I think I would have to put an awning over it as well for the cold weather. I also have a connection to a pool heater for gas, which I never use. But again, I'm still paying that 89 cents a day. Now, by the way, my solar system was actually installed for free many years ago by AGL. Initially, the idea was we would share the cost savings for 7 years and then I would own it outright. But for some reason, after about 2 years, AGL just transferred the ownership to me anyway. Yay. So I told several relatives about this offer and none actually picked up the phone and took advantage of it. So anyway, the lesson of that is be proactive. Another reason I haven't done it is because I would be adding a battery to an existing system. It's actually more costly to install than what's called a battery-ready solar. So if you install the whole thing at once, it all comes with the associated kit to attach the battery. So that's another potentially $2,000 on top. And I know too, and I just heard this, that we know that people that have been with the same electricity or gas retailer for that matter for 3 or more years are paying much more than the people who are not. So I regularly change my own retailer. In fact, I got a pricing email from Origin today. Hello, Origin. And something about pricing. I can't imagine it going down. So I'll be calling someone and changing it again. So just getting back to the cost of the battery, one of the things that we have seen with electric cars is the rapid innovation in car technology, car battery technology, and the real cost of that. So we've seen people that were early adopters and bought Teslas, and they have seen that their cars have depreciated massively. And we still see the brand new electric cars are depreciating massively. So I guess secondhand cars have become something of a bargain. But in the back of my mind, I think this could happen to cars. Why can't it happen to the batteries that we are installing next to our house? Again, you won't read this online because the people that are writing about this tend to be involved in the solar industry. I'm not saying what they're saying is wrong, but this is just my impression. And so it could be that the cost of the home batteries could significantly fall and or their efficiency go up. And so you have a bigger battery, more efficient battery, or a smaller battery to do the same job, and it might just fit in much neater into my carport and much more neatly out of my wallet. So I guess the question then is, who is a new battery a good idea for now? Certainly many people have installed them already. We know that in the first 9 months of the government's new scheme, I think it's called the Cheaper Battery Scheme, 284,549 batteries were installed. So a lot of people thought it was worth it. So would you actually benefit from installing the battery now? The scheme's actually being phased out over time. So I think these are the things to consider that might make it for you or have made it right for you. I would imagine there'd be quite a lot of people watching this who've already installed them, so I don't really want to hear this. But I think if you simply want peace of mind of insulating yourself against future power bills, yes. And of course, that assumes that you also have the spare cash. Not everyone does. If you have plenty of room around your house for the spare batteries, for the batteries. If you had a large enough system to feed the batteries and that thus maximize their use. So I'm under 6 kilowatts, whereas I think over 6 was mentioned as a good place to be to fill up your battery enough during the day to warrant overnight. If you join a virtual power plant, what's called a virtual power plant scheme at the same time, this may reduce the payback period. I did start looking into that, but they seem excessively complex to me, some of the offers. If you want to have power continuity in the event of a blackout from your battery, and this might require some additional hardware when it's fitted, I think this could be quite a good convenience actually. Only the other day I saw that I had to reset my gas thermostat in the morning as there must have been a momentary power loss overnight. And I think this sort of peace of mind thing would be hard to measure in mere dollar terms. I think we had a major power down. So yeah, so that would be nice, I think, if you had the spare cash. And also I think, and this is probably more important, if you don't use much power during the day but are a heavy user overnight, then you can effectively use your solar power from the battery. So I'm thinking of someone who goes out all day and is working and then comes home late at night and then has to run all their power and they have a bigger home than me. Yeah, I think it would probably well be worth doing for you. So that's what I think about home batteries. Not for me at the moment, but it might be right for you. What do you think? Please let me know in the comments. And I wish you all peace and love.